having been in the public eye since the 1990s, essentially, how have you, I don't want to say use the word survived, but how have you kept yourself, focused and centered and not gone insane being in the public eye this long, especially as a woman in America?
Listen, I think I learned a long time ago about trying to represent myself as honestly as I am in my real life. I'm not, I show obviously the more polished side, but it's not so radically different. So it's not about surviving, right? It's just about being like, well, this is kind of who I am. And I learned, I came up at the same time as Charles Barkley, and I remember seeing CB sometimes just really say what he thought and felt, and he probably has a greater luxury than I would as a female, quite frankly. But I remember thinking, oh, when you're more honest and forthcoming, you actually get more forgiveness. Like he could say stuff and people go, oh, that's just how he is. But if we pretend or try to be perfect or PC every single time, somewhere you're going to get it. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I think it was just that. And quite frankly, listen, I'm not that famous and I stay out of things. And ultimately, what am I selling? I'm selling like, hey, let's try to take better care of ourselves. Let's try to be our own best badass self. Let's try to be kind to each other. So I also think what I'm selling is not that, controversial. So, but if you ask me a direct question, and even if it's a little uncomfortable, I'll try to be as honest as I can.
Well, that's a great segue, because I was going to ask you, you are one of 7 women who were not WWE superstars who have posed for Playboy magazine. I know you've talked about that before as well, but now, I was curious because we are seeing more women own their sexuality. I mean, WAP is a hit record of 2020. For those of you that don't know what that acronym stands for, different podcast. But we have more people these days that are like, they're out front, like, this is who I am, this is what I like, et cetera, et cetera. In lieu of like the last 20 years and things that have happened in Me Too movements in Hollywood and things of that nature, do you have a different thought on what you were representing at the time you decided to pose for Playboy versus what it may mean now, being a mom now and seeing how culture has changed in terms of everything? I was just wondering, reflecting back on that experience, what is that like? I mean, not that I've ever seen any of the pictures or anything, because
I was gonna say, did you see the pictures?
I have access to the internet.
Okay, so here, if you see those pictures, it's like human form, is it not?
Yes.
So I produced that shoot. I hired the photographer. There was no one from the magazine. I basically controlled the whole thing, and I'm completely comfortable with it because I wasn't sitting on a bubble with red pumps and red lipstick. I'm like naked out in nature. So I felt comfortable with the representation of what that was. And when I did that, I was already 30 years old. So it wasn't like I didn't think about it. I had really thought about it and thought, okay, if in 10 years or 20 years, how are you going to feel about this? So, I mean, listen, it's a body.
I wish I had that much confidence. That's confidence right there, ladies and gentlemen.
But remember what I said, I hired the photographer. I mean, he is on my side.
Well,